Good morning, spiritual companions. We are reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, continuing the introduction on page 32. Tantra. According to Tantra, the ultimate reality is Chit, or consciousness, which is identical with Sat, or being, and with Ananda, or bliss. This ultimate reality, Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute, is the same as the reality preached in the Vedas. And man is one with this reality. But under the influence of Maya, or ignorance, he has forgotten his true nature. He takes to be real a merely apparent world of subject and object, and this error is the cause of his bondage and suffering. The goal of spiritual discipline is the rediscovery of his true identity with the divine reality. For the achievement of this goal, Vedanta prescribes an austere negative method of discrimination and renunciation, which can be followed only by a few individuals endowed with sharp intelligence and unshakable willpower. But Tantra takes into consideration the natural weakness of human beings, their lower appetites, and their love for the concrete. It combines philosophy with rituals, meditation with ceremonies, renunciation with enjoyment. The underlying purpose is gradually to train the aspirant to meditate on his oneness with the ultimate. The average man wishes to enjoy the material objects of the world. Tantra bids him enjoy these, but at the same time discover in them the presence of God. Mystical rites are prescribed by which, slowly, the sense objects become spiritualized, and sense attraction is transformed into love of God. So the very bonds of man are turned into releasers. The very poison that kills is transmuted into the elixir of life. Outward renunciation is not necessary. Thus, the aim of Tantra is to supplement bhoga, or enjoyment, into yoga, or union with consciousness. For, according to this philosophy, the world with all its manifestations is nothing but the sport of Shiva and Shakti, the absolute and its inscrutable power. The disciplines of Tantra are graded into suit aspirants of all degrees. Exercises are prescribed for people with animal, heroic, and divine outlooks. Certain of the rites require the presence of members of the opposite sex. Here, the aspirant learns to look on woman as the embodiment of the goddess Kali, the mother of the universe. The very basis of Tantra is the motherhood of God and the glorification of woman. Every part of a woman's body is to be regarded as incarnate divinity, but the rites are extremely dangerous. The help of a qualified guru is absolutely necessary. An unwary devotee may lose his foothold and fall into a pit of depravity. According to Tantra, Shakti is the active creative force in the universe. Shiva, the absolute, is a more or less passive principle. Further, Shakti is as inseparable from Shiva as fire's power to burn from fire itself. Shakti, the creative power, contains in its womb the universe and therefore is the Divine Mother. All women are her symbols. Kali is one of her several forms. Meditation on Kali, the creative power, is the central discipline of Tantra. While meditating, the aspirant at first regards himself as one with the Absolute, and then thinks that out of that imperial consciousness emerge two entities, namely his own self and the living form of the goddess. He then projects the goddess into the tangible image before him and worships it as the Divine Mother. Sri Ramakrishna set himself to the task of practicing the disciplines of Tantra. At the bidding of the Divine Mother herself, he accepted the Brahmani as his guru. The goddess Kali, one of the forms of the Divine Shakti, was his chosen ideal. He performed profound and delicate ceremonies in the Panchavati and under the bel tree at the northern extremity of the temple compound. He practiced all the disciplines of the 64 principal Tantra books, and it took him never more than 3 days to achieve the result promised in any one of them. After the observance of a few preliminary rites, he would be overwhelmed with a strange divine fervor and go into samadhi, where his mind would dwell in divine consciousness. Born with the divine disposition, he had no need of the 5 ingredients of the Tantra worship in their physical form. As he uttered the name of Kali, he would be filled with the joy of divine inebriation, and people saw him in that state, actually reeling or talking incoherently like a drunkard. Evil ceased to exist for him. The word carnal lost its meaning. He went into ecstasy at the sight of a prostitute, of drunkards reveling in a tavern, and of the sexual union of a dog and a bitch. The whole world and everything in it appeared as the Leela, the sport of Shiva and Shakti. He beheld everywhere manifest the power and beauty of the Mother. The whole world, animate and inanimate, appeared to him as pervaded with chit, consciousness, and with ananda, bliss. He did not, like a Vedantic scholar, repudiate the world as Maya, but gave it a spiritual status, seeing in it the manifestation of chit and ananda. The barrier between matter and energy broke down for him, and he saw even a grain of sand and a blade of grass vibrating with energy. The universe appeared to him as a lake of mercury or of silver. He saw in a vision the ultimate cause of the universe as a huge luminous triangle giving birth at every moment to an infinite number of worlds. He heard the Anhata Sabda, the great sound Om, of which the innumerable sounds of the universe are only so many variations. He acquired the 8 supernatural powers of yoga, which make a man almost omnipotent, and these he spurned as of no value whatsoever to the spirit. He had a vision of the divine Maya, the inscrutable power of God, by which the universe is created and sustained, and into which it is finally absorbed. In this vision, he saw a woman of exquisite beauty, heavy with child. She emerged from the Ganges, came to the land, and presently gave birth to a child, which she began to nurse tenderly. A moment later, she assumed a terrible aspect, seized the child between her grim jaws, and crushed it. As she swallowed the child, she re-entered the waters of the Ganges. But the most remarkable experience during this period was the awakening of the Kundalini Shakti, the serpent power. He actually saw the power, at first lying asleep at the bottom of the spinal column, then waking up and ascending along the Sushumna canal and through its 6 centers or lotuses to the Sahasrara, the 1,000-petaled lotus in the top of the head. He further saw that as the Kundalini went upward, the different lotuses bloomed, and this phenomenon was accompanied by visions and trances. Later on, as he described to his disciples and devotees the various movements of the Kundalini, the fish-like, bird-like, monkey-like, and so on, the awakening of the Kundalini is the beginning of spiritual consciousness, and its union with Shiva in the Sahasrara, ending in Samadhi, is the consummation of the Tantric disciplines. One of the results of his practice of Tantra was the deepening of his respect for womanhood. To him, every woman was the embodiment of the divine Shakti, and he could not, even in a dream, regard a woman in any other way. His relationship with his own wife was entirely on the spiritual plane. He taught that the most effective way for a man to overcome carnal desire was to regard woman as the manifestation of the Divine Mother. He forbade his disciples, however, to practice the rituals prescribed for a sadhaka of heroic disposition. About this time, it was revealed to him that in a short while, many devotees would seek his guidance. End of section, end of today's reading.